Hello and welcome back to another review and recap for The Traitors Season 4, Episode 7. And we are seeing the slow erosion, the crumbling of the traitors, and it all stems from nobody being able to trust one another. A traitor turret divided cannot stand. And it feels like things are gonna get chippy going into the next week's episode, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Ron being banished as a faithful, Alan coming in and saying that there will be a banquet. So everybody gets on their nice gear, heads down. It is looking very lavish, very nice. There's a giant turkey, there's some tarot cards on the table, but really, as the audience, we are keeping our eyes on Lisa. Who will she try to get to touch her cursed amulet? At one point, she had Natalie, Jam Jam, and Kristen around her, and I thought that Lisa played this off perfectly, where she pretended that the pin got unclipped, was poking her, that she needed help getting it situated and fixed. Jam Jam, being a nice gentleman, helps out Lisa and fixes her pin. Even though he was very chivalrous in this moment, Jam Jam had doomed himself by being too nice, to where he was now set to be eliminated in plain sight. That is until once everybody got situated around the table, started eating, having a nice moment of talking about how great of an experienced Traitors is, Alan comes walking through the door with two antidotes that somebody is going to be eliminated right now, right here, unless the group can give one of these antidotes to the person that is set to leave. Now, this was always going to be a needle in the haystack for the faithfuls to guess correctly who was cursed. You're in a new environment, doing something new with the banquet, there's all these little trinkets and everything. So just having a calm, rational conversation about who everybody thinks could possibly be in the line of fire was gonna be tough. But this right here turned into chaos, where you have Natalie standing up, freaking out that Steven had served her some meat, that she felt like she definitely needed the antidote. Then you have Johnny pointing out that Steven pushed him to pick a tarot card, which the tarot card he picked was Kristen's. Then you have Tara freaking out that Dorinda was trying to serve her turkey. This is where Natalie runs for one of the antidotes. Jam Jam points at Johnny to grab one of the antidotes and give it to Kristen right now. So Johnny grabs it, gives it to Kristen, she is going to be safe, and Natalie takes it, drinks it down, but alas, it is Jam Jam who was eliminated. And as he is being taken out of the banquet room, he is yelling that it was Lisa. Lisa did this to me. She kissed me on my cheek. Housewives don't kiss on the cheek, they air kiss. And as he walks out of the door, everybody is staring at Lisa, who is dumbfounded at this point. She's like, it wasn't the kiss. I air kissed everybody. Now I went back and looked, and there was contact between cheeks with Lisa. Now I did go back, and there was contact between Lisa's cheek and Jam Jam's cheek. But I also saw that there was contact between Johnny and Lisa as well. It was at this moment that I was like, it's over for Lisa. It was tough. I was like, they could have the round table right now. Lisa is going to be unanimously voted out. But I will give it to the editing team that actually felt like there was some leeway that there could be a chance to save Lisa, especially with how Natalie was acting at the banquet. This is where we get to breakfast the next morning, where the traitors are the first three down at breakfast, so they get a chance to talk with one another because they didn't have a chance to meet at Traitors Tower because of the banquet. So they got to chat. Rob tried to defend himself on why he voted for Lisa, but Lisa and Candiace were all over him, telling him that he needs to step up. Suspicions are on Lisa. Let's try to curve everyone away from voting her out. But realistically, this was going to be tough, because at the round table, Lisa was almost banished because of really nothing. Colton was pulling anything out of his hat to get suspicions on Lisa. Now you have Jam Jam yelling that it was Lisa, she doomed me. I mean, if you try to save Lisa, that could put a lot of blowback on you. Now, I will say for Candiace, I think that there is a little bit of wiggle room for her to try to save Lisa because they have that housewives connection. On the other side with Rob, if he really goes to bat for Lisa, it could make him look very, very suspicious. This is where everybody else joins for breakfast, eats some smoked salmon, and then we get a little bit of game talk before the mission. You have Natalie and Tara having a one-on-one conversation, trying to clear the air of what happened at the banquet. Lisa joins in to hear Natalie misspeak like Portia did. We eliminated a gamer, banished a gamer. Lisa felt like that was a lifeline to help her out, so she was going to spread the word that Natalie did misspeak, and maybe she is in fact a traitor. But we move to another conversation with Rob, Steven, Mark, and Maura, where you have Steven and Mark suspicious of Natalie because of her behavior at the banquet. But then Rob is like, let me throw this out there. If there's two people with two different stories of one event, then one person is lying. And so you have Jam Jam saying that Lisa kissed him on the cheek, but then Lisa saying it didn't happen. But Jam Jam has no reason to lie. It seems like Lisa is lying. So Rob is further trying to get Lisa banished at the next roundtable, which is definitely a choice, and I will talk more about Rob's decision making and his gameplay up to this point, but I want to put a pin in all of this as we get to the mission for this week. For this mission, everybody meets up with Alan in the middle of this trail where he tells everyone that they're gonna have to climb up this hill to the top within 30 minutes. On their way through this path, there will be spots where they can pick up gold. Collect all the gold within the time limit and you will bank $25,000 into the prize fund. Now on top of this mission, there is another game to be played because the 6 highest performing players in this mission will then be eligible to try to win the Dagger. The Dagger will give one person an extra vote at one of the next 4 roundtables. So really the beginning of this mission was all just like a preamble to see who would play in the Dagger game. And really we didn't see too much of this mission. We saw people running up the trail, we saw people walking up the trail. There was some gold on a stump that Rob, Colton, and Steven picked up. Then there was this carnival game where they could hit urns with the gold that they have to try to earn more gold. Everybody got up this hill with no problem, with so much extra time to spare. To bank the gold and put the money into the prize fund, you had to put the gold in a chest. You can put it in your own chest, or you had some people who didn't have much gold, so they just gave it to some other people. And at the end of part 1 of this mission, they were able to bank $17,800 into the prize fund. But the 6 players eligible to possibly win the Dagger and play in the Dagger game were Rob, Colton, Eric, Mark, Steven, and Natalie, with the person who earned the most gold, which was Rob, because he was an ace at hitting the urns with his gold. He got so much from that game that he got a major advantage going into the game. Everybody left, the 6 stayed with Alan, and the Dagger game was simple. 5 players will stand behind 5 tablets. One of those tablets will have the Dagger symbol. Once everyone sees what's on their tablet, then Rob would be able to ask them a set of questions. Any questions that he wanted, as many questions as he wanted, and he was trying to determine who was lying to him, because he would ask questions like, what is your name, where'd you grow up, what's your favorite colors, things that he knew the answers to, and then at the very end would ask, do you have the Dagger? To where then he would have like a baseline of whether they're telling the truth or not. He did this for every single person, and at the end, he stole Natalie's tablet, where Natalie did in fact have the Dagger. I thought Rob was super impressive, and honestly, it feels like he is playing a near perfect game. I would say, I feel like he is making great decisions 95% of the time, because it seems like he is so trustworthy. A lot of people like him. No one is even close to being suspicious of him. I mean, you have Colton carrying his backpack of gold. Then when he steals the Dagger from Natalie, Natalie is in the confessional being like, well, if I can't have the Dagger, I'm glad Rob has it. And then on top of that, when the 6 get back to the castle, he lets them all know that he has the Dagger, but let's keep it quiet between all of us and let's make a pact with one another, thus having more trust between these 5 players with him. I just felt like it was a pretty genius move, and now he has an extra vote on top of that. It's pretty brilliant, until I feel like he stumbled in the roundtable. But again, we'll put a pause into that. Let's get a little bit of game talk where we see initial talks in the kitchen between a group of like 7 players stating that they are suspicious of Natalie and they're gonna go in to the roundtable with the intention of voting her out. But then you have another group of like Mark, Eric, Rob, Natalie, and Colton saying that they want to vote Lisa. Now we get to the roundtable where, without hesitation, Lisa puts Natalie in the hot seat saying that you misspoke. Are you a traitor? On top of that, you have Johnny talking about how it was very off-putting on how Natalie acted in the banquet, that no one could get a word in edgewise. She was so set, without thinking of anyone else but herself, about trying to get the antidote. Natalie apologizes, tries to deflect, she was in fight or flight mode, and that she was just trying to keep herself safe in the game. Colton comes to her rescue and speaks up because of course he has to, but Colton speaks up about Jam Jam, and his last words were, "Lisa did it, Lisa did it." He turns the attention over to Lisa, being like, why was he so set on you and throwing you under the bus? Lisa doesn't really have a good comeback. She just says, I don't know, I did air kisses, and that's where Candiace and Dorinda both come to help out Lisa and have her back. But Maura speaks up saying that I was there when you greeted Jam Jam and you did touch cheeks. And Lisa denies. And this spurs on Dorinda to have Lisa's back even further, to the point where Maura and Dorinda have a heated exchange with one another, which was wild. I wasn't expecting that at all. At this point, it seems like it could be one or the other of Natalie or Lisa. And I felt like there was a sliver of hope for her. That is until Rob decides to speak up and take a leadership role. He says that Natalie was very emotional last night. The moment got the best of her, but let's take emotions out of it. So he helps take the spotlight and the suspicion off of Natalie and dumps it all on Lisa, going further into Jam Jam was a faithful, and he's the one over there saying that Lisa was the one that kissed him. Lisa was the one that doomed him. And as a faithful, I would feel some type of way if Jam Jam was correct that Lisa was a traitor and we didn't vote her out. And I mean, Rob just goes in on Lisa, stating that whenever somebody poses something to her or questions her, it's always, I didn't do that or I don't know. And he is just piling, dumping on Lisa to ensure that she gets voted out. And this is where I claim that Rob has made the good decisions 95% of the time, but this is the 5% that I think this was a flaw in his game, a flaw in his thinking, because I don't think he needed to do all of this to ensure Lisa was eliminated, that she would be banished at this roundtable. For him to go above and beyond, go out of his way to dump so much onto Lisa. He might think, this is great news for me because Lisa is out of there. I don't have to deal with both Lisa and Candiace criticizing me all the time. And on top of that, I look good to the other faithfuls. But he's not thinking about Candiace. Candiace is on the other side of the table, watching Rob just dig this hole for Lisa, completely bury her. And what is Candiace supposed to think? That if there's a little tiny suspicion on her, would Rob not do the same thing that he is doing to Lisa to me to help him out? That he is just going to, at some point in this game, completely bury me without a second thought? Like I said earlier, Lisa was going to be banished sooner rather than later. But there's a tactful way to banish someone without rubbing another traitor the wrong way. And I felt like Rob just went a little too overboard with ensuring that Lisa was going to be banished. We do get to the votes, and you have 1 vote for Maura because of Dorinda, random, 2 votes for Natalie, Lisa, and Tara, 1 vote for Rob, which was from Candiace, which I think was a warning sign to Rob in front of everyone, being like, you think about throwing my name out there, and I will make sure there are going to be eyes on you. Even if I'm walking out of this door, I'm going to make sure people are suspicious of you. So try it with me. Rob didn't like the vote one bit, which I don't blame him. But again, there was a tactful way to vote out Lisa, and I just think that Rob did a little too much throughout the day, as well as definitely in front of everybody at the round table, where it didn't leave Candiace very confident in being able to trust Rob leaving the round table, as well as Rob doesn't trust Candiace now. Now, everybody else's vote was for Lisa. Lisa stood up in front of everybody and said that she was a traitor. Everybody rejoices and everybody is excited. And of course, Colton is too. He has a giant smirk on his face, feeling so vindicated. But in the adrenaline rush of getting another traitor out, Colton wastes no time in starting to throw out another name that he wants to vote out at the next roundtable. And so he brings Johnny into the billiards room and says that he wants to take out Steven. Steven's name came up around the banquet. Then at the mission, Lisa dumped her gold into Steven's chest. So Colton is like, there's something off about Steven that I don't like. Then we move from Johnny and Colton to Colton, Maura, and Rob in the kitchen, where Colton throws out that Candiace is acting very suspicious. every time Lisa was trying to say something, Candiace came to her defense. So now he's throwing out shade to both Steven and Candiace. Speaking of Candiace, one last conversation before we get to Traitor's Tower was Candiace and Johnny, where Johnny is still very suspicious of Colton. He was right about Lisa, but what if he is a traitor throwing another traitor under the bus? This leads to then a conversation about Rob. Colton and Rob are so close with one another that if Colton is being suspicious, what if they are so close with one another because they are traitors? So now we're seeing a little bit of splashback from the whole Colton and thing to over to Rob. Will it stick? We don't know. These faithfuls are all over the place. The last thing we're left with is Candiace and Rob meeting up in Traitor's Tower, taking down their hoods, and them saying good evening. And boom, cliffhanger. We have to wait till next week to see what all the fallout is going to be with everything that happened at the round table, Lisa being banished. Candiace and Rob seem to not be able to trust one another. They're going to be butting heads. Things are going to get spicy in the next coming episodes. I have a feeling this is going to be like Danielle versus Carolyn 2.0 from last season. And it's going to get messier and messier as we go on. Really, it felt like the Traitors were playing a near perfect game. And I kind of got the feeling that the only thing that could really take the Traitors down are the Traitors themselves. And it feels like that's exactly what's going to happen. I would hope to find somebody in my life like Candiace, who is just like a ride or die, will have your back and be loyal even till the bitter end. And then the person who may have done you dirty, she is willing and ready to get petty. And I think we all should yearn for a friend like Candiace. They do have to come up with a decision on whether they're going to take someone out or try to recruit another traitor. That's going to be interesting of a choice. Will they agree on who they want to bring in? And even if they ask somebody to be recruited, will they say yes? We're going to have to wait and see how that's all going to play out. What'd you think about this week's episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What'd you think about the banquet and how Lisa went about getting Jam Jam? Do you think it was the wrong decision to go for Jam Jam? As well as what'd you think about the mission? What'd you think about the Dagger Game? How do you feel about Rob in the round table? Do you think he went above and beyond to get Lisa out? Or do you think he did what he had to do to ensure that Lisa was out? What do you think about Rob throughout this week's episode? And how do you think his decision making and Candiace's decision making of voting for Rob, putting a little bit of suspicion on him, how do you think that will play out moving forward? Let me know everything and anything you thought about this episode down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you have to say. But now I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Traitors content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.